Mr Speaker, I rise to take the call for the Greens on the Local Government Auckland Council number 2 Amendment Bill for this third reading. We will be supporting this bill. I guess you could call this just-in-time legislation decision-making, really, given that the elections were held on Saturday, and within the next 2 weeks, local boards across Auckland will be sworn in their first inaugural meetings. So in order for them to be sworn in, they do need to have their delegations enshrined in legislation. I'd like to start by congratulating all those people who've been elected to local boards in Auckland, and that includes the Deputy Speaker Ross Robertson. I particularly want to congratulate Vernon Tava, Deborah Yates, Sharon Brown, Steve Tolstrup and Saffron Toms, who are all Green Party members who were elected to 3 different local boards in Auckland. Local boards is where democracy happens, and from our point of view, it's a place for good green change as well. So we're thrilled that we've got competent, fabulous people in those roles in Auckland. But this legislation is about the decision-making, the delegation powers of those local boards. It's kind of a bit worrying to know that local board members, as well as our mayor and our councillors, were voted in with a very low turnout these elections. It was around about 35%. So it seems to me that there is a growing disconnect between communities and their governance. But it's interesting to note that in smaller communities there is a higher voter turnout. This time on Waiheke we had 55% turnout, which is actually 9% down from last time. And in Great Barrier Island they had a 67% turnout, but that was out of 750 voters basically. But I also note that in Rodney they were the next highest turnout with 44%, and roughly there's about 14,000 voters there. So I think what I'm saying is the closer people are to their elected representatives, the more engaged they are, the more likely they are to participate in their civil society, and that includes their responsibility of choosing their democratically elected representatives. Where I live, we share a councillor with the Waitemata local board, and they had one of the lowest turnouts. That was about 33%, but it has the highest number of voters in that area, 47,000 voters in the Waitemata local board area. But the population's around about 80,000. So when you're looking at that as a ward, you're looking at an incredibly large area. And if you look at what councillors and local boards have, they don't have the same type of resources that MPs have. And I wonder sometimes if that's one of the reasons why there is a lower turnout for local government elections. So local boards, their role is to maintain democracy and advocate for their communities. Now, I disagree with the Minister when he says that it might be a good thing to roll local boards out to other places in the country, because if that is about replacing councils and their decision-making powers, then we are entering a time of reducing local decision-making, not increasing it. In my community, we were opposed to the super city amalgamation. We fought hard to get our own local board, and we got it because we rallied around it. We were going to have one member on the Waitemata local board. That was going to be our local representation until we fought against it. And to reduce the number of people who represent our communities by introducing local boards and getting rid of councils, I think does everyone a great disservice. What we have in Auckland is a co-governance arrangement, and I do get really cross with people calling our local boards community boards, because they're not. I know, because I was on 2 community boards and I was on a local board as well, so I know the difference. The legislation that we have for local boards ensures that, and this legislation ensures that local boards can delegate some of their decision-making abilities. They can delegate it to staff, they can delegate it to members of their board or subcommittees of their board in order to get work done. And I'm assured that the governing body is now looking at delegating more powers to local boards as well. They're able to advocate for their communities, even on regulatory matters. They don't have the decision-making power, but they certainly can advocate, and that is what our communities want. I guess that's why I get really cross sometimes with the local board that we've had on Waiheke, who've been one of those boards who haven't been as effective as others. They haven't been doing what the Mangakiki Tamaki local board have been doing in terms of addressing the issues in our communities. They have said, quite frankly, that they would sit on their hands rather than get involved in negotiating and facilitating discussion around a proposal for a marine reserve on our island, that they would rather sit on their hands. And that's a direct quote. They've also said, and this was the chair, Faye Storer, said that it wasn't her role to advocate on regulatory matters over the biggest development that's happening on our island in the last decade, and that's the proposal for a marina at our gateway in Matiatia. I suspect that it was her decision as the planning spokesperson not to give a view from the board on that issue because of her role as the hearings commissioner and the potential for her not to be called for hearing commissioner's duties as a result if she were to comment. What we have now, though, is we have a new board that's been elected. And so I want to congratulate those people. They're Paul Walden, Bex Ballard, Beetle Treadwell, John Mewson and Sharon Brown. A clean sweep of new blood into our community as our community leaders. They've already proven that they can engage with the people in our community. They've been listening, they've been picking up ideas, and I feel quite confident that they will also be able to harness the creativity and expertise that we have in our community to deliver really good decisions that will keep us going forward on Waiheke. I'm also pretty sure that they'll be good negotiators, and that is the partnership between local boards and the governing body which make up the council. It's a negotiation about not just delegating powers, but also about budgets and about plans. And I'm really, really thrilled that we now have some talented people who will be able to negotiate for us. And I think they'll do it effectively as well. I'm also really pleased because this is the first time we've had somebody under the age of 40 on the local board for about a decade. And in fact, when I was on the local board, I was the youngest, which is a bit scary when you think about it. So congratulations to Bex Ballard. Local boards are important. I'm pleased that we are supporting this legislation through the House. I don't believe local boards are the cure-all for local government throughout New Zealand, but I'm glad we've got them in Auckland, and I'm glad that we're going to see a change on Waiheke where our local board is working for us. Thank you.
The Honourable Phil Heatley.